Okay, so we've got yet another one to work on. This is for Chapter 17. This is the second video. And I want to talk a little bit about assignments and delegation of duties. So an assignment is the transfer of rights from one person to another. And there's a lot of interplay here between who's who and what's what. So I want you to remember the thing I taught you at the beginning of the semester, and I have visual aids this time. It's not the guitar. Remember I taught you from or to E. Keep this in mind as you go through all this. That is that the transferor transfers something to the transferee. The assignor assigns it to the assignee. The payor pays the payee. The promisor makes a promise to the promisee. If you remember that these endings of the words, you'll be in a lot better shape. So, an assignment is related to contracts in that it's assigning some right from the assignor to the assignee. And it's not that unusual to come across a lot. So let's start with another visual aid. A fairly simple idea that an obligor has an obligation to the obligee. Whether it's to pay money, let's say it's to pay money, for example. Then think of this person as the payor, and they owe the money to the payee. So obligor owes the obligation, it flows towards the obligee. Now, what if the obligee wants somebody else to have it or sell it to somebody else, transfer it in some fashion? They can't, but they begin to change the names, and I just want you to follow the names. So the obligor still owes that duty to the obligee, but now the obligee is not only the obligee, but now the assignor. Because once the obligation comes to the obligee, they now possess that obligation, and they can do with it as they will, with a lot of exceptions you learn in the chapter. So they may want to assign that to somebody else. For example, the right to own money, to get money. Somebody owes it to you, the obligor. So you get transferred to the assignee. The assignee now is the one who holds those rights that were transferred to them. So this person here, the obligee, becomes both the obligee and the assignor. If you can grasp that concept, you'll kind of get the idea how this all flows. Think of this one not only just for money, but think about a subtenant. That is, let's do a commercial one, for example, that somebody is renting commercial space from a landlord, and they have 2 years left on their lease, but they need a bigger place, so they're going to move. And with the landlord's written consent, that's the way it works, they can transfer that right to the possession for 2 more years, which the obligee is owed. They can transfer to the subtenant, who becomes the assignee. So they're allowed then, with the consent of the obligor, to come in and occupy for the last 2 years as subtenant of the obligee, i.e. the original tenant, which takes us to delegation of duties. Delegation of duties, by the way, my eyes are shifting because I don't know where the camera is here. Is it there? There? I don't know. Whatever. I don't really care. As long as you guys are getting the information, I could care less. These videos are not staying up on YouTube, believe me. All right. So delegation of duty means that you pass your duty on to somebody else. Can you do that? Yes and no. Certain things can be delegated because it doesn't matter. There's no personal service involved. It's not like you're unique in doing that. But by and large, you're still on the hook. You, the person who's in a contract. So can you delegate that duty or that obligation to somebody else? The answer is no. You can get somebody to help you. You can get somebody to do it for you, but you're still on the hook. So in the example that we had with the landlord, so we've got a commercial landlord here. We've got a commercial tenant here who wants to sign the last 2 years to the subtenant. You can do that. However, that obligation to pay from still remains no matter what, because there now it turns around, and this is the obligor to the obligee in terms of they owe money to them every month or whatever the case may be. And while they can bring this person in, the landlord's going to say, yeah, you can do that, but you're still on the hook for the rent. And by the way, that is how it really works in business by and large. Really, as a landlord, say, oh, that's right, go ahead and I'll just collect the money from this person for the next 2 years. The person whose credit may not be exactly the same. So you can assign most rights, but you can't always delegate a lot of the duties. And that's it for this one. Thanks.